Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of Mastering Leagues 4. We've already covered all of the regions, we've gone over a routing guide for all three combat styles, and today I'm going to tell you about what I plan to do during leagues personally, and what route and path I'm going to take, and as much detail as I can tell you about what my plan is, I'm going to let you know. So, the first kind of thing I want to touch on is when it comes to picking a route, the most important thing is picking something that you're going to have fun and enjoy doing for 8 weeks. I plan fully to play this league for the full 8 weeks and do as much as I possibly can, whether it's really long, grindy tasks at the end, pushing really high tier raids. I don't know, there's all sorts of fun endgame stuff that you can do, and it's about finding what you personally enjoy. And for me, I have a bunch of friends who all really want to push really high invocation TOAs, myself included. I actually personally really enjoy TOA. So that set me on the path of, okay, well, I'm going to go the desert then. In order to have TOA, have to have it, boom, we're in the desert. And then I started just brainstorming all of the different things, different combinations to make the desert work. Do I go magic? Do I go melee? Do I go ranged? What different combinations can I do for each of these? And I kept coming back to ranged as a setup for a variety of different reasons, and ultimately ended up settling on I'm going to go the ranged relic. And if I'm going to go desert and ranged relic, I'd really like to maximize the gear that I get from there, so I might as well go as Guardia. That way I can get the fortified Missouri set, and that'll solidify my weapon as well and go the Zerite crossbow. I really didn't want to take two raids. While I enjoy raiding, the time commitment of doing multiple raids to me is just not worth it. I'd rather have some chill, relaxed skilling to do on the side and whatnot during these 8 weeks, instead of forcing myself to do some really high intensity raiding every single day, 8 hours a day, to really maximize all of the rewards from the raids. And that just wasn't appealing to me. So I decided that I wasn't going to go Zaya and get the T-bow, and I also wasn't going to go Tyrnwyn and get the Bofa. Because I already have the full Missouri set. So I decided that I'm going to go the crossbow route. And the game plan there is ultimately to end up with a Zerite crossbow and use the spec relic that was announced to really just blast through the raid bosses, using ruby bolts and honestly potentially onyx bolts with the new infinite money free shop relic that exists. You can actually just buy infinite onyxes with Toggle pretty easily, which gives you just infinite onyx bolts that would also be a blast with a Zerite crossbow. And so that kind of set the scene of like what my game plan was, right? I had some gear, those are the regions of Desert and Asgardia, and then I had to find a third region. And I kind of talked about this in my ranged guide, where range is really awkward, where you can't really have a best in slot setup for every single piece of gear. With what I currently had, I had my helm, my body, my legs, my boots, my gloves, and my crossbow sorted, and that left the backpack, the ring, and the necklace. And if I take Fremennik, because I already have Misthalin unlocked by default with the desert, I actually unlock 2 of those 3, versus if I take Candor and I just get the necklace. So I decided to go Fremennik and get the Archer ring upgrade from the Desert Treasure to Leviathan, and get the Assembler because Dragon Slayer 2 is auto-completed and you can kill Vorkath. Which puts me really, really close to a near best-in-slot setup. I have a small downgrade from T-bow to ZCB, and I don't have a necklace. We'll probably just end up camping like a Fury the whole time, which is totally fine. With TOA, I'm going to be gear swapping anyway. I don't have access to an occult, so Fury should be more than enough for what I need. But that puts me really close to a really, really good gear setup. And then, as I've reiterated multiple times throughout all of the routing videos, is the second most important thing besides gear when it comes to routing is, are there bosses that you can kill with your style? And TOA, you can actually range basically every single boss. Kefri is kind of weird, where technically you can, but it's still probably more beneficial to just use the Karis, because Karis is actually just busted. And theoretically, I can get Torva in my region, so like a Torva plus Karis probably is more damage than Zerite crossbow. You probably spam your specs into it and then switch to the Karis. which is fine. Baba can definitely be crossbowed the whole time. Super chill. Zebek is ideal to be crossbowed. Akka has its second phase, which can, so I'm just going to sit here and diddle-daddle with probably Ancient Magics, probably just blood barraging Akka until he phases and I can blast him with my range. Dump a bunch of specs into him and insta-phase him, which will be fun. We'll see what the meta for Akka turns out to be, because if I have a bunch of mage friends, I theoretically just kind of AFK that boss every single time, which is unfortunate, but part of the name of the game. And then everything but half of P2 of Warden, you can range as well. So very, very ideal ranged content in TOA. You can fully range Calphite Queen, which is also in the desert. It's ideal to ranged Leviathan. When we go to Fremenic, you can range Musfa. You can range the Dagonoth Kings, right? We go to the God Wars dungeon, and you can range every single boss, all 5 of them, super easily. So there's lots of content that I can do for ranged, which is great. That's what I want to do. Is I want to do a lot of bossing. I want to get a bunch of drops. I want to get as many uniques as I possibly can, and this sounds like a blast. And then on top of that, the skilling content is really good. You have Temperos, you have Giant's Foundry, you have lots of thieving, pyramid plunder type stuff in the desert. I get the kingdom to round out things like herb lore and construction. With the new infinite money relic, being able to just like blast bag plants into gold sinks because I have Asgarnian Fremenic for my construction and just get 99 in like 2 hours sounds like a blast. So there's all sorts of like really cool combinations from a skilling standpoint within these regions where all my bases there are covered. I have Guardian's Earth, I have Scar Essence Mine for rune crafting, right? Like, there isn't really anything that I'm really worried about skilling-wise not being able to do. So it just seems like a really rounded-out route for doing specifically TOA, which is what I ultimately want to do. Is I want to grind a bunch of it in leagues and really just blast through stuff with some really busted, overpowered relics and gear setups. So it should be a lot of fun. I will say that this route is not very beginner friendly. The middle game, really kind of the early to middle game portions of this is going to be very awkward. The tasks and stuff are going to be really reliant early on, with the caveat of the desert. Very PVM focused, and while you can get like a rune crossbow early, those steel dragons in Karamja are going to be camped so hard the first couple of days from everybody going ranged that fighting over steel dragons just doesn't sound ideal. And so the beginning of the game is going to be a little awkward. I don't have a good mage weapon at all until Shadow. Once I get a Shadow, then we'll be popping. But before then, I'm literally just probably going to be Ancient Staffing and then barraging. Maybe once I get the minigame point multiplier, I'll go to MTA and get like a Master Wand and a Mage's Book, and which will be good. I will be getting full Virtus from Leviathan. That sounds like a super easy grind with my setup. I do technically get Whisperer as well, and Duke. So I get 3 out of the 4 Desert Treasure 2 bosses, which is kind of fun. Depending on how tasks look like, I might get some kills on each of those. But realistically, if all of the tasks for those bosses are just get the loot type things, which is kind of expect because they're combo regions, maybe they'll be like a get a 1, get a 10, get a 50 KC at each of them, and I'll probably do all those. But besides that, I'll camp all of the actual loot at Leviathan because it'll just be faster and easier for me to do. Relic-wise, they haven't announced everything yet, obviously. We only have a handful of teasers so far. But I'm a huge fan of Trickster. I think even in my own in these regions specifically, I don't really have a good agility training method. I have Pyramid Plunder. Technically, I have like the Plivnich Rooftops is probably my best actual course, and then I have Relica course, right? But like, there's just a giant gap from like Falador to Relica, right? And that doesn't sound much fun to me at all. I hate running rooftops. If I had Mauritania, I could just run Sepulcher. I would do that from 52 to 90 or 52 to 50 million XP. and I would enjoy every minute of it. But alas, I don't have Mauritania. So being able to just get passive XP, which will be great. Anytime I'm skilling, I'll be wearing the greaves. It should be able to get a pretty passive 99, and then I can probably unequip them. Maybe, if depending on what my skilling and running around looks like, maybe we hit a 25 miller on the agility for free. The thieving is okay. There's a couple of weird niche things early on, things like the dark chest on the Isle of Souls, to get really early Renar seeds and whatnot. Again, this route really relies on doing PVM really early, and being able to get prayer pots day one is pretty important, and that's one of the best ways I think of getting those, because Renar seeds are going to be kind of awkward due to the fact that you can't really pickpocket master farmers yet till your farming is up. You'll end up getting a decent amount of farming from doing like bagged plants and stuff if you take the infinite money relic, which will be cool. And then the range relic is good. They've announced Globetrotter. I think Globetrotter's kind of meh. Not a huge fan, really, hoping that they spice things up with the rest of it. The Guardian relic is a lot of fun. I think that'll be a massive addition depending on what else is tiered with. I kind of expect they'll probably tier the Guardian relic with the Spec relic, and because I'm going like a Zerate crossbow intended route, I definitely have to take the Spec relic even if it's not. But if the Guardian relic happens to be like a tier 6 and the Spec relic's a tier 7, we'll be taking probably both of those, because that's just so much damage and helps actually solve a lot of the problems I have where like I don't have a good mage setup really. Well, huzzah, I have a mage thrall that's now going to just blast for 15s and really just melt Akka, which will be fun. From like an end game standpoint, again, the goal is really just to do a bunch of TOAs, get a bunch of loot, do a lot of necks, that type of thing. I think really pushing invocations high, seeing how much you can push as a solo player will be a lot of fun. I think the relics will make something super trivial. And we'll just have to end up seeing how it plays out. There's so many unknowns right now that it's hard to like talk about really specifics end game until I know exactly what relics I'm going for. But that's kind of my routing plans, is doing a Asgarnia into Fremennik into Desert route, which seems really weird. I have some reasons for doing it in that order for gear purposes more so than task purposes. I think I have a way of getting all of the tasks and stuff done to unlock Desert by choosing those two first, which is really the ultimate goal, and lets me do some fun stuff in the first couple of days because I'm taking this. In general, if you wanted to follow suit, I honestly would probably recommend taking Desert and Asgarnia first and second over the Asgarnia Fremennik like I will do. But yeah, so that's my routing plans. I just, like I said, wanted to really go over what I'm personally going to do after talking about all the different options you have. And just show again that the options that I showed in my routing guide, they're just general guidelines, right? I made some audibles, I made some changes to the routes I had in those because the content I wanted to do didn't quite fit that exactly. So I found something that was close, that doesn't really lose too much in comparison to the routes I gave, and lets me do the content that I really want to do over the course of 8 weeks, which is, again, the most important part of this. The other thing I want to touch on is just the kind of the state of the YouTube channel, right? And what my plans are for leagues and going forward. I kind of mentioned this in the last region guide, but when I made this series, this was actually just made for some clanmates, right? I had 4 or 5 clanmates that kept asking me questions about leagues. They knew that I got Dragon in the past and just most of them had never played before, and they were like, where do I even start? It seems super overwhelming. There's leaks. I don't know what's going on. Is this any good? And I just decided that it was easier to answer them in a video format. So I was like, screw it. I'll whip up a YouTube, make some videos, throw them online. They probably won't get any traction, which is fine. Wasn't really intended to be that way. And you guys have actually came up and just blown up the channel. It has popped off more than I could ever imagine. I was hoping maybe to get 500 views total across the like 10 to 12 videos that I did, like total. And then I have videos as of recording this that are sitting at like over 12,000 views by themselves, which is actually just mind blowing. I had 10 subs when I started the first video and we're well over 500. and probably more by the time this video actually drops. And it actually is just mind-blowing to me, and I just want to thank you all so much. I originally intended to, after doing all of the routing guides, like the region guides and the routing guides, to just stop and then just focus on doing the league and chilling and relaxing and answering questions in my clan's Discord. And that was the intent. Like, the YouTube was supposed to just end basically with this episode. But I've heard the love. I felt it. Talked to you guys a lot in the comments, people messaging me in the league's Discord and reaching out and asking questions, and just loved the community that is being fostered here, and feel like I can't just leave you guys after all the support you guys have shown. So I'm going to try my hand at progress videos throughout League. I'm going to try to keep pace, and I've been doing daily uploads since the first of the month, so we're like 12, 13 days in by the time this drops, of just every single day a video coming out. And we're going to try to keep pace with that. We're going to try to do a video every single day for at least the first chunk of leagues. Once we start getting to the really grindy section of leagues, I might start switching to like every other day, maybe once every 3 days, slow it down just a little bit. So that way I can build up enough content instead of like a quick 5-minute video, try to make enough progress and things to fill a nice like 10-15 minute or every couple of days. But during the beginning of the league, when so much is happening, that shouldn't be a problem. I do want to mention, I've never made a progress video in my life. This series so far is the only RuneScape content I have ever created. And the formatting of a progress video is just very different. So I want to open it up to you guys, that if there are things you want to see me do, content ideas you would love to know about, please put them in the comments. When I do start making progress videos, I am super open to feedback. If there is formatting that you guys don't like, I'll probably just be doing clips with voiceovers kind of after the fact, do it kind of post-production instead of in the moment for the most part, and see how that goes. If you guys don't like that, you'd rather hear live reactions, please tell me, whether it's here in the first progress video or any of the progress videos going forward. I'm super open to the feedback, because the only way that I'm going to get better is knowing what you guys want and how to adjust and change and make those adjustments. And hopefully the love you guys keeps kind of overflowing into the progress series. So I'm looking really forward to it. I think sharing my knowledge through what I'm doing and leading you all through the trudges is something that I really enjoy doing. And depending on how it goes over leagues, like if the progress videos fall flat, they fall flat, and that honestly won't hurt my feelings at all, because I had no expectations with the series at the beginning, and it's just blown up so crazy. But if it does keep pace and you guys keep showing the support and really enjoy the progress videos after leagues, I'll keep it up. I will do progress videos on, I have a couple accounts I'm working on. I have a UIM that's approaching kind of max-ish. I'm gearing that account towards a lot of 200 mils, which means that even though it's about 2,000 total level, like I'm doing some really crazy long grinds that like don't progress me at all in the moment towards 200 mil, but long-term do. I have a GIM group that's mostly PVM focused, where I can be uploading content from that. So there's all sorts of progress stuff that I could upload. And if you guys do enjoy the progress videos in the series, and it seemed like it's something that I can reasonably keep up and maintain, I'll make it happen after leagues too. And I think that would be fun to keep the community going. So I just want to thank you all again. Those are my plans, my route, my YouTube, all that good stuff. And just thank you all.